the Brazilian driver in car number 29 for Euro International, Sergio Sete Camara, coming in for the first time this season. So he's another newcomer, and 25th on the grid, the number 22 car of Wing Chun Chang in his first Formula 3 European race of the year, the Macau-based driver who is using this to get ready for Macau, the famous street race, Formula 3 race to round out the season. So the cars head off. Here's the situation with the championship then. Esteban Ocon has got 427 points. Tom Blomqvist has got 330. Max Verstappen has got 325. Ocon has almost, you could say, got one hand on the championship title now. The odds strongly in his favour, with only these two races today remaining and the three races next weekend at Hockenheim. But technically, Tom Blomqvist and Max Verstappen can still beat him. As I said, Tom Blomqvist is 97 points behind, and so if Esteban Ocon beats him by 3 points or more in this race and gets that gap out to 100 or more than 100 points, then Tom won't be able to beat him in the championship. For Max Verstappen in third place, Max is 102 points behind Esteban Ocon. There's only going to be 100 points available at the end of this race with the 4 races to follow. 25 points for a race win, 18 for second, 15 for third, down to a point for 10th place. That means that if he's to stay in the championship fight, Max Verstappen in this race has to score at least 2 more points than Esteban Ocon. That's the only way he can stay in the championship fight. So it's going to be a big, big ask here for Max because of this grid drop, and he finds himself down on the 6th row of the grid. So yesterday, a very entertaining race. Most of the entertainment came from Max Verstappen as he charged his way through from 15th on the grid. He got up towards the top 6, pulled off some spectacular moves. He pulled off a brilliant move on Lucas Auer into Revazza. It was a super move. And then he charged after Jake Dennis, who, as I say, was carrying some damage to the back of the car. And he tried a move into the chicane at Tamburello, tried to go around the outside of him. It almost worked. It almost worked. It was pretty spectacular, but he just carried a bit too much speed into the corner. He thumped over the curb. The car went airborne for a brief second and then flew across the nose of Jake Dennis. He just managed to avoid any contact. And Jake carried on, and Max dropped back 2 or 3 places. Then he had to defend for a couple of laps, and then Antonio Fuoco ran into the back of him. So that delayed him further. Antonio then was asked to go for a pit lane visit by the officials for a drive-through penalty as a result of that. And then he got into entanglement with Roy Nissany and Max Verstappen. Later, the officials decided that that was Max's fault, and they've given him a suspended 1-race ban. So if he's naughty again, he might have to miss one of the races. It's a suspended ban, but the officials watching closely what Max Verstappen does in this race. But he's got no choice, really. If he wants to try and win the championship, he's going to have to go for this from the 6th row of the grid. And as I say, he's got to beat Esteban Ocon. He's got to beat him by 2 clear points to stay within the championship fight. So big, tough order this. There's the Carlin team watching on. Their cars run with Volkswagen engines. There are lots of cars out here. The Carlin cars and the Gigonia IM with Carlin cars as well. One of which is Tom Blomqvist, who's going to start the race from pole position. The red lights build up, and it's a long hold like he was yesterday, but the race now gets underway. It's a good start for Tom Blomqvist. Esteban Ocon is going to slot into 2nd place. Giovinazzi looks like he's going to hold 3rd. Antonio Fuoco in the green, white and red car for Prema Power Team tucks into 4th place. Esteban Ocon coming under attack from Giovinazzi on the way to Tamburello for the first time. And there's the number 4 car of Roy Nissany having a good duel with Jake Dennis as they try to go wheel to wheel on the way into the first chicane. But it's the 2 teammates that are 1st to 2nd. So Giovinazzi did squeeze through on the way into turn 1. He got ahead of Esteban Ocon, and the championship leader in the black car is down to 3rd place. Fuoco hanging on to the tail of them in 4th position. There's Roy Nissany, and then coming around the outside there of his teammate is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull livery car, of course. Red Bull liveried, because that's where he's going to be driving next year with Toro Rosso in Formula 1. So Roy Nissany with the blue helmet there and the orange number 4 car has got Max Verstappen breathing down his neck here. And Max already has made up a couple of places in this race. He gave us all the entertainment yesterday. What's he going to provide for us today? So they climb up the hill now, over the crest, going towards the second half of the lap. into one of the chicanes, the tight chicane here at Varianta Alta. Very tough on the drivers as they hit the curbs, stud the curbs here. Jake Dennis was telling me yesterday, for the taller drivers especially, of which he is one, Max Verstappen is tall, Esteban Ocon is also a tall driver, it really does pound the body. The two leaders go through, then this is Ravazza for the first time. This is the corner where Max Verstappen pulled off a great move yesterday. This time he's gone down the inside, hasn't he? He's picked up a place down the inside of Roy Nissany. Yesterday, he feigned a dummy on Lucas Hauer and then ran the outside and then cut back to the inside through the middle of the corner to pull off a terrific move. So Max already on the march here. Tom Blomqvist leads the race, though, by 0.9 of a second. Antonio Giovinazzi is in second place. Ocon is third. Fuoco is fourth. Latifi is going well in fifth place. Will Buller in sixth position. There is Roy Nissany trying to get back into the points because Roy has dropped 4 places on that first lap. He's down the Israeli to 12th position. So the top 6 go through. Dennis is 7th. Verstappen is up to 8th place. Lucas Hauer is 9th. And into the points is the new rookie, Nick Cassidy, the New Zealander, into 10th place in this race. Lots of action further down the order as well as they work their way through this quick circuit. Had some rain and storms at the end of qualifying yesterday. It's largely been a dry, sunny weekend. Dry testing for them as well. And Roy Nissany now trying to close in, and somebody's gone very, very wide there through the shadow of the trees, through the gravel trap. Will just about rejoin and has lost a bunch of places, and that's Jordan King. So Jordan King, who qualified down in 13th place, he finished second in the race yesterday, but Jordan running super wide there in the blue number 5 Carling car. Avoided the barriers though, got back into the onto the track. He started the lap in 14th, so I'd imagine he's going to be down in 18th, 19th, 20th place now, something like that. Here comes Max Verstappen now. He's onto the tail of Jake Dennis. This was the start of all the real incidents yesterday when he tried to go around the outside of Jake. Jake, quite rightly, turned into the corner. He had to at some point, and Max around the outside of the chicane. Almost pulled off this super move. It didn't quite work this time. He's going to try it the inside line, and he's going to come through. Max Verstappen is absolutely flying in the Van Amersfoort car. And there we've got a move on Esteban Ocon from Antonio Fuoco. The crowd's going to go wild here. So Fuoco is up into a podium paying position. He had a miserable race yesterday, but that was a good move into Tamburello for Antonio Fuoco. So the driver in the green, red and white car gets himself now up into third place. Jake Dennis, having been passed by Max Verstappen, has now got Lucas Hauer on his case. And this was a spin for number 22 there, going all the way around, and that was Wing Chang Chang, the Macau-based driver, towards the back of the field. The fastest lap has gone to Antonio Giovinazzi, 1 minute 39.1 seconds. And the gap to the leader then is down to 0.9 of a second. So he's trying to catch his teammate, Tom Blomqvist. Tom, a win here would really keep him in the championship fight, especially with Esteban Ocon down the order a little bit now compared to where he was at the start of the race. Giovinazzi has picked up 2 wins in recent times. He won one of the races at Spielberg 2 rounds ago, and he won one of the races at the Nürburgring as well. So he's on good form, is Antonio Giovinazzi, runner-up in last year's British Formula 3 Championship. Jake Dennis coming under fire here from Lucas Hauer. This is the battle for 8th position in the points, and catching them up as well is Felix Rosenqvist, who had a poor qualifying session yesterday, but actually set the fastest lap in yesterday's race. There is Felix in the number 27 car, the Swedish driver. 11 race wins last year, championship runner-up, but he's had just the 1 win this season. Tell you what though, he's moving forward, so he's going to attack Lucas Hauer here. He's got a tremendous run over the start-finish line, going towards Tamburello, trying to look round the outside, but Lucas Hauer, he's also got one eye on what's ahead of him. He's trying to pick up a move on Jake Dennis, so a great scrap going on here for 8th, 9th and 10th positions. There is Gustavo Menezes in the silver and yellow machine, who had dramas yesterday. He got, I think it was at Tamburello or Villeneuve, one of the 2 early chicanes. He got thudded early on in the race. So it was a difficult race yesterday for the Van Amersfoort team. Jules Kowiak, who made a good start to the race, he picked up 7 or 8 places on the first lap. He's another one that's carrying a 10-place grid penalty. And Jules Kowiak, the rookie driver, he had a brake failure, so he dropped out of the race pretty early on as well. And then the other Van Amersfoort driver, Max Verstappen, had that difficult race, as we said. But they've got their man on the march again here, driving very, very well. And The maturity of the driver, unbelievable. He just turned 17. There's Jos Verstappen, his dad, ex-Grand Prix racer himself, and also in his day, in his junior career, run by the Van Amersfoort team. They've known each other for a very, very long time. Jos Verstappen, Jos the boss. Hitherto, the most successful Dutch Formula One driver, 106 Grand Prix starts in the 90s and early 2000s, driving for teams like Benetton and Simtek, Stewart and Arrows. But maybe Max Verstappen can become even more successful as he starts his Formula One venture next year. Well, he's already started it, hasn't he? Because he did free practice in the Japanese Grand Prix last weekend and qualified 12th. Not qualified, but was 12th fastest in the free practice session, only 4 tenths away from Daniel Kvyat, his Russian teammate. He's going to be promoted to the main Red Bull team. Here comes Max Verstappen then, and it's a pretty straightforward move on Will Buller. He was reeling him in, and he was much quicker, and he goes through. Smile on the face there for Jos. I'll tell you what, Max Verstappen has provided so much entertainment this year with some terrific moves, and it looks like Luca Sauer has gone ahead of Jake Dennis there as well. So he's in between the two Muka Motorsport cars now, the two orange machines. And Jake Dennis in the red, white and blue colours of the Racing Steps Foundation there, just losing a place. And that's a replay of a move from Nick Cassidy trying to get through and succeeding by the looks of it. So that was a good move from him. That was on Dennis van der Laar, and that's going to get him even more points potentially here. So Nick Cassidy going well up in the top 10. Somebody else has gone wide here. That's Felix Rosenqvist. So Felix Rosenqvist from inside the points has gone wide, and he's going to rejoin just in front of Sean Galal. So I think that would put him 12th. Sean Galal started the lap in at 13th place, the Indonesian driver who drove well yesterday and got into the points. Going to get a replay. Whoa, carried some speed there, didn't he? Exactly the same spot where Jordan King went off and just recovers it. Felix Rosenqvist finished 4th in the race yesterday. It looked like there was going to be a point where he'd get onto the podium. He was homing in on Tom Blomqvist for a few laps. He set the fastest lap of the race, but he said that why he thinks he hasn't won anywhere near as many races this year, Felix Rosenqvist, as he did last year, is that the car has a very small window this year, the Muka Motorsport car, and there have been lots of changes to the regulations this year. So a car that was quick last year, not necessarily going to be quite as quick this year. And he said there's a very small window where it works perfectly. When it works perfectly, it's really quick. And he proved that with the fastest lap yesterday. But if you make a slight mistake, it gets heavily punished. And he said, you know, drivers aren't robots. We don't do everything absolutely perfectly. And you have to be on it absolutely 100% of the time to get this car to work. That said, they have made good steps forward with the car, and it's been more competitive this weekend, certainly yesterday, than it has for a little while. But Felix said, we're going to keep fighting, we're going to keep pushing on. Championship's obviously gone now for him, but what he's really aiming for is Macau. And he's got a habit, Felix Rosenqvist, of winning the big races. His one race win this year was at Pau, the Grand Prix, and the French Street Circuit, and he won the Masters race as well in the past, and he's finished 2nd at Macau. That was Jocelyn Kvyat, number 15, pulling off a move, or trying to, on Jordan King. Then he loses the back end of the car on the way out of the chicane and sends it into a 360 spin. So Jocelyn Kvyat trying to get up the order, almost pulled it off there. It's a replay from a different angle, and big wide gravel traps here these days at Imola, so he doesn't go into the barriers. There is Esteban Ocon then, and he is currently in 4th place. Tom Blomqvist is leading the race, and it means that if it stays like this, he's not going to wrap the championship up quite yet. There is the man that this huge partisan crowd is cheering on. 150 followers, I reckon, all cheering and shouting and roaring and chanting every time he comes past. Antonio Fuoco in the points. He's a rookie in Formula 3. He's only had one other year of car racing. That was last year. And he won the Formula Renault Alps Championship with the Prema Power team, whom he's with now. He's the teammate to Esteban Ocon. You've got Nicolas Latifi in that team as well, and they're all going pretty well. They've got 3 cars in the top 5 here. So Tom Blomqvist for Jagonia I Am with Carlin leads the race. 2nd place is his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi. 3rd for Prema is Antonio Fuoco. And then his 2 teammates, Esteban Ocon and Nicolas Latifi, 4th and 5th. 6th place now is Max Verstappen for Van Amersfoort Racing. In 7th position, Will Buller for the signature team. In 8th place, Lucas Auer. 9th place now is Jake Dennis. And in 10th position is number 4, Roy Nissani. In the points, Felix Sorrellis, just 0.9 of a second behind him in 11th place after his trip across the grass and the gravel. Felix Rosenqvist is in 12th spot. Sean Galal's 13th. Menezes 14th, Van der Laar 15th. Cassidy's had an excursion somewhere, I assume, because he's down to 16th place now. In 17th place, struggling this weekend, is Ed Jones, who started the season really well, the Emirati. He was up there pretty much in all of the races at the start of the season. He got podium finishes at Hockenheim with a second and a third, but he had a big crash at Po and seriously damaged his back, and he had to miss several rounds. In fact, he's missed 15 races. He's missed half the races this year. And so, as he said to me yesterday after the race, it's tough to come back from that. The back's still giving him trouble. It's still sore, particularly with the big curbs around here at Imola. He was feeling it in the race yesterday, and he's just not had enough time in the car. Everybody else has been racing all season long, and he's finding it a little bit tough. So he's just really aiming for next year. And he also says with the physio, the problem is that, I think the safety car is going to come out. The problem is that he can't go 100% on the physio either. So the safety car has come out, and it's because Alex Tyrrell has beached it, gone off the circuit there. First thing I saw when I came in to the circuit on Friday, we were just in the middle of the first qualifying session, was Alex Tyrrell's car on a crane being towed away from Rivazza, where he had a crash and made some damage to the front right suspension. And Alex, the rookie, the Spaniard, having a tough time of it so far this weekend. He has scored some points, or scored 1 point this year, 1 point scoring finish. He's one of the younger drivers out there. He's just 17 years of age. Mom and Dad both competed successfully in rallying. His brother is Miguel Tyrrell, who's a successful GC racer. And a couple of seasons of the F3 Open Championship, first season the FIA Formula 3 Championship for him, and yet just lost it under braking. And went around on his own by the looks of things. But again, thankfully, the gravel trap did its job, and he didn't make it as far as the barriers. Just to go back to Ed Jones, having had all this problem with his back and struggling a bit with the car and in himself physically, he then had a very, very big crash at the Villeneuve chicane, the second chicane, turn 2, in qualifying yesterday, which brought out the red flags and actually cut the qualifying session short. It was a 20-minute session, but it was cut down by about 6 minutes, and by the time they were ready to restart it, a storm was brewing overhead and it went pitch black. It was only about 6:15 in the evening, but the light just completely went, and there were lightning all around us, and the wind was blowing up. But actually, we just about avoided the storm and a few drops of rain, but it passed overhead. But it was just too dark for them to continue, so they cut the session short, which no doubt messed one or two drivers up who were hoping to get a flying lap in later on in the race. Fritz van Amersfoort was making the point as well that they got hurt with Max Verstappen in the first qualifying session on Friday, because there was a red flag. There were a couple of red flags in the session, and like Formula One, the most successful team gets to start at the top of the pit lane. The least successful team from the previous season has to start at the end of the pit lane, and because they're all queued up in the pit lane, there was only a few minutes left on the clock, and they were the last ones to be able to get back out onto the circuit because of the queue ahead, and Max couldn't quite get across the line in time for a lap. So he missed out and was in 5th place. They were struggling a bit with the car, but they've really sorted it out for the 2 race days. That car has been flying, and there he is, up to 6th place. Now, remember, this is great news for him, because in terms of the championship, I know it's only slim hope, but he's going to keep fighting for it, that's for sure. He's only 2 places behind Esteban Ocon now. Oh, and we're going to get a replay of Gustavo Menezes, the American driver, doing a lovely 360 pirouette, and that's behind the safety car. So Menezes, who was running in 16th place, just about controls it, gets it back on the track from Santa Monica in California, and started his car racing career a couple of years ago in the Star Mazda Championship in the States, then did some ATS Formula 3 Cup racing last year with Van Amersfoort, got a couple of wins in that series, several podiums, and has come into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship with the same team this year. There's the 22 car, which was driven earlier in the season by Hector Hurst, the British driver. Wing Chun Chang, the Macau-based driver, is now behind the wheel of that one. He had a moment earlier on in the race. Nicknamed Dundee Chung Chang by his British team, and he raced with Westec earlier this year for a round of the Euro Formula Open Winter Series, so he had some ties with the teams already. As I say, using this really as a test to get used to this type of car ahead of Macau. He's Also a very successful karting pedigree for the Macau-based driver. Got up to 5th place at one point at the Nürburgring. He made his debut last time out on a track that was drying and he had wet tyres on. But he did drop a little bit down the order as the race and the track dried out. So safety car still deployed. There is Tom Blomqvist leading the way. And as long as he outscores Esteban Ocon, he's going to stay in the championship fight. So he's on for the full 25 points at the moment. Antonio Giovinazzi has been matching his pace, though, throughout the course of the race. But it is pretty tough to overtake here, one or two of the drivers were saying to me. Jake Dennis said if you get within 5 or 6 tenths of a car ahead, you just lose all of your downforce around here, and it's really tough to get through. And he said you have to be within 2 tenths of a second, really, to be able to lunge down the inside into one of the corners. So he said you then have to take a decision of whether you just keep trying to sit there and trying to close that gap, or you just back off and look after the car. So a lot of management going on here. Jake was also saying that they get a very long brake pedal by the end of the race here, and that's something else you have to manage, something else you have to take into consideration when you're driving. The tyres hold up. They're all running on the Hankook tyres, and they get very, very quick still at the end of the race, particularly as the fuel load comes down. It's not particularly hard on tyres, this circuit, unlike somewhere like Silverstone, where, for example, in the qualifying sessions, there was a very small window of 2 or 3 laps where you could get a good time. Very abrasive circuit, lots of very, very quick corners, sweeping bends at Silverstone. But here the tyres last all the way through the session, really, and at the end of the qualifying sessions we've seen many drivers getting their fastest laps. Another point that was made to me by one of the drivers yesterday is that the surface of the circuit actually gets better as the race goes on, because we've got lots of support races here this weekend, things like the Italian Porsche Championship and GTs and Italian Formula 4. And he said at the start of the race, you're running on the rubber that's been laid down by those cars. We then mop that up and lay down our own rubber, our own super sticky Hankook rubber. And so actually the surface of the circuit gets better and better for us as the race goes on as well. So we should be able to expect some very quick lap times towards the end of the race. Certainly yesterday's fastest lap by Felix Rosenqvist came pretty late on. As you can see on the graphic then, the safety car is due in on this lap. Alex Terrell's car has been removed to safety. It's bunched everybody up, and no doubt there's going to be some fireworks now from the likes of Max Verstappen as he tries to gain more places here and tries to get ahead of Esteban Ocon. He's going to be on pole position for the race later on. Race 3 of the weekend, and alongside him he's going to be, guess who? Esteban Ocon. They're going to be on the front row of the grid together. Esteban started on pole position yesterday and led and won fairly comfortably in the end, although he was kept honest throughout by Jordan King. Here we go then, the race about to restart. This flat out run now of the start-finish line. There used to be, a long time ago, a chicane after Rivazza, but it's a straight flat out run now all the way over the start-finish line to abreast a bit further back there as a couple of the full-set drivers tried to make a move on one another, and already there's a move from Max Verstappen, and that's on Latifi. Safe move, that solid move, nothing too dramatic, and up to 5th place then now for Max Verstappen. So Blomqvist, Giovinazzi and Fuoco the top 3 still. Ocon in 4th, and his championship rival Max Verstappen now behind him and on a mission here. He could get a podium finish here, Max Verstappen, if he keeps going like this. We're only halfway into the race. So they rise uphill now, a climb out of Villeneuve. And from there, they head up to Tosa, this left-hander at the top of the hill. And this, you can't really see from the circuit, but this really rises out of Tosa. And then they go down towards Peratella, and then Acqua Minerale. And then the last of the chicanes, Varianta Alta, the tightest of the chicanes, before they drop back downhill into the downhill braking zone for Rivazza. So that's the run that they're going to take now through the rest of the lap. Standing over the curves through these chicanes, as we said, and the drivers, Jules and Koviak saying to me, you have to be so precise taking the car into these corners. You've got to really think about the setup, and it's so easy to go in too quick, have to brake that little bit too long and too hard, and then scrub your speed off on the way out of the corner. Rivazza, Esteban Ocon saying to me yesterday that it's so easy to lose the back end of the car there for it to snap away, because the back end of the car is so light with all the weight transferred over the front wheels. They come out of Rivazza then and back onto the start-finish straight. And how close is Max Verstappen going to be to Esteban Ocon? Maybe not quite close enough to attack yet. Jake Dennis looks like he might be about to go on the attack. Is that Will Buller that is behind the black car on the red rear wing? And that's a great move from Jake Dennis. Late on the brakes, he covers it, the line off on the way into the chicane, and he makes it through. So terrific move that from Jake Dennis. That's to go back up a place into 8th position now for the rookies. Having to defend from Will Buller here, though. So Will coming back at him, the Northern Irishman, but failing to quite get through on the run through into to Villeneuve. So they begin the uphill climb now towards the crest of the circuit, through Tozer, through the apex. You can see how much it rises there. It's a really steep rise, steep incline through the apex and then out of the corner. So critical to get a good run out of Tozer. Then into the left-hander at Piratella, which is, George Sivkoviak said, just about the only straightforward corner here in terms of the way you approach it, that left-hander. All of the chicanes pretty tricky indeed. So Blomqvist continues to lead the race, looking for his 5th race victory of the year. And Tom Blomqvist has been Mr. Consistent so far in the last couple of rounds. A replay we're going to get now of Jake Dennis's move. Bit damp off line still under the trees after the overnight rain. So it was a brave move, that. But he went for it. Tenacious stuff. And a great move from Jake Dennis. Down into Ravazza, we have, well, I would say 2 main championship protagonists, but they've been split now, of course, by Tom Blomqvist, who's moved in between them in the title race. But season long, it's been between these two, Esteban Ocon and Max Verstappen. Esteban's taken 9 race wins, Max has taken 8 race victories. Closing in now, and he'll go for it if he gets a chance, that's for sure. Esteban Ocon might be thinking about points more than anything else. He's going to try this move around the outside again, and this time it works. That's exactly the move he tried to pull off on Jake Dennis yesterday, but this time he went for it. Get the feeling that Esteban Ocon was never going to fight that one too hard. He hasn't got to win the races anymore. He's just got to try and pick up a few points, really, in the remaining races. In the background, we lost, I think, one of the Fortec cars has gone off there and into the gravel, and also kissing the barrier with the rear wing. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Here's Roy Nassani, meanwhile, the orange machine there. The Muka Motorsport car having a battle. Meneses is going to get through as well. It was on Sean Galal, so Meneses might get through up into 13th place. He's going to try around the outside still. I'm not sure he's going to do it, though. Sean Galal fighting hard to keep him at bay. And the car in question was the number 10 machine of Santino Ferrucci. And looks a bit sore there, but he's walked away under his own steam. He was off in an early crash yesterday. It was coming together between him and his teammate, Hongwei Chow. And Hongwei into the barriers, caused a safety car. Santino got going again, but he's just had a really tough weekend here. He's always going to be trying to play catch-up because he was 16. He's only just turned 16 halfway through the year, so he missed the first half of the season as Jake Dennis tries to creep down the inside here to pick up a place, and that's a nice move on Dennis van der Laar. So 2 places gained in 2 laps here for Jake Dennis. That puts him now up another position. No, it was Fuoco, wasn't it? It was Fuoco who was going slowly, so it was a teammate of Dennis van der Laar. So Antonio Fuoco has got a problem, I'm afraid. He's driving to the pits now. So Blomqvist, Giovinazzi and Verstappen is now the top 3. Ocon 4th, Latifi 5th, Auer 6th. Dennis is up to 7th. But it was, it was Fuoco. I got confused there because Fuoco was way, way ahead of Dennis. But, he'd obviously slowed and had a problem. This is a replay of Santino Ferrucci losing it, the Californian. And this is as Dennis went through. And Fuoco already knows he's got a problem at this point, so he moves aside and into the pits he comes. Difficult weekend for him so far then. He had a tough race yesterday and drive-through penalty yesterday, and he's coming back out. There's no message on screen, but has he been given another drive-through penalty? He's gone straight through the pits and back out again. Whether the car sorted itself out, there's certainly no message on the timing screen to say that he's got a penalty. And I don't think he was anywhere near anybody else to have caused any kind of problem. I don't think. So, a bit odd, that one. Get more information, I'll let you know what's going on. But he's gone back out, but he's way, way down the order now. So from 11th on the grid, Max Verstappen up into the top 3. You know, he did make a very quick pit stop. It was a puncture by the looks of it. A left rear puncture for the Italian. Great shame for Antonio Fuoco and his army of fans here. It's not turning into the dream weekend, is it? Not going to get any points in this one either, so it's going to be down to the race later on today. He will be 3rd on the grid for that one, so he's still got a chance. Here we can see the number 3 car of Lucas Auer trying to get onto the tail of Nicholas Latifi. They're 5th and 6th respectively. There is Tom Blomqvist then. He's been racing cars since 2009, son of Stig Blomqvist, the 11-time World Rally winner and World Rally champion, of course, as well in 1984. Tom's grown up in Cambridgeshire in Britain, so he's classified as a British driver. And then we can see Jordan King's trying to get back up the order. He's down in 17th place. There's the 22 machine of the Macanese driver Wing Chun Chang. Number 11 in the background there is Spike Goddard, the Australian, on the tail of Jules Simkowiak, who runs very wide there in car number 15. The tail end of the top 20 of these two. Spike Goddard's another one that's had an engine change. If you change an engine, then you get a 10-place grid penalty for the next 3 races. And that is what's happened to him. And at the tail end of the group, struggling a bit, is Tatiana Calderon, who is in 15th place. She's been in the points 6 times this season. She's had 3 races in the points of late, 3 on the bounce, but Tatiana struggling a little bit in this race for whatever reason. Somebody else in front of the commentary box is coming out of the pits. It's Fuoco's been in and out of the pits again. So Antonio Fuoco's been into the pits twice now and gone back out again. Why he got the puncture, or maybe it was some damage, some further damage, I'm not sure. We didn't see it, did we? But anyway, his race is run. There is Felix Serrales, who's up into 8th place now and into the points for a 2nd consecutive race. That's where he finished yesterday in 8th position. And here is Tom Blomqvist, a few years ago, was the youngest ever Formula Renault UK champion. At just 16 years of age in 2010. This is his 4th season of Formula 3 racing now. Did the ATS Formula 3 Cup, the German-based series, in 2011 and 2012. Finished 5th in the championship in 2012. First season of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship was last year. It's a tricky season at times, but with the Euro international team, the Italian team, he managed to finish in 7th place in the championship in his rookie season. Collected 3 podiums, finished in the top 10 at Macau as well. Here we can see number 5, Jordan King, trying to get a move on the number 4 car of Roy Nassani. Roy then defends, bouncing across the gravel, and Jordan King is delayed, and they both end up losing a place. So Roy Nassani and Jordan King having a bit of a battle there. Fastest lap of the race to Max Verstappen, 1 minute 36.589. He's still on a march here. He's up into the podium paying positions. It's not enough for Max. He wants to try and get up to 2nd, maybe even higher than that. So there he is in the Red Bull liveried car. Daniel Kvyat, who was in the Toro Rosso in the free practice session with him at Japan, was only 0.4 of a second quicker, and Max has said that he just wasn't pushing it. He was just trying to be sensible, trying to look after the car, trying to learn his craft, and was very surprised when he saw the time was pretty close to Daniel Kvyat, who was racing in this championship last year. Daniel Kvyat was a guest driver. He didn't enter early enough to claim points, but he did get a race win at Zandvoort and several other podium finishes. And we're going to see a move here on Nicholas Latifi from Lucas Auer. This is a good move around the outside. It all began on the exit to Rivazza. He carried the flat-out speed all the way across the start-finish line. Top speeds yesterday of the cars were over 250 kilometres an hour they were registered at. And Lucas Auer just carried the momentum, and there was nothing Nicholas Latifi could do about it. So a favoured overtaking spot that into Tamburello. Lucas Auer with the move this time on Nicholas Latifi. That puts him up to 5th place. So Tom Blomqvist leads by 2.3 seconds now. 2nd is Antonio Giovinazzi. 3rd is Max Verstappen. 4th, Esteban Ocon. 5th is now Lucas Auer, and 6th place Nicholas Latifi, the Canadian. 7th is Jake Dennis. 8th is Felix Serrales. 9th is Felix Rosenqvist. He's come back up into the points, the Swedish driver. And into 10th place is Gustavo Meneses. So Gustavo Meneses into the points now. The driver 11th in the championship. He's had a couple of podiums. At Spa was his best weekend. Tail end of the car getting slightly out of shape there for Max Verstappen as he made his way over the curbs and out of the chicane. He is pressing on. His last lap was 0.4 of a second quicker than Giovinazzi, and he got the gap down to exactly a second at the start of this lap. We're on lap 16 of 20. There is Lucas Auer having a competitive run, already pulling away there from Latifi. So Latifi quickly is being dropped by the Austrian. Nicholas, who raced in British Formula 3 last year as well. Got a couple of podiums. Well, got a 3rd place finish at Brands Hatch was his best result. A couple of poles at Silverstone. Finished 9th at Macau as well, Nicholas Latifi. Had a pretty good run there. And again into the pits, Antonio Fuoco. So it wasn't just a puncture, was it? It was something more sinister than that. something more serious. So they're just using this as a test session now to try and get the car sorted out and tested, ready for the third race of the weekend later this afternoon. So the fans in the grandstand next to me have gone pretty quiet, I'm afraid. We might still, though, have an Italian on the podium, because Antonio Giovinazzi is hanging on to second place for the time being. The 19-year-old Formula Polotta champion in the Chinese single-seater championship. He won that 2 years ago. He was racing against Sean Galal in that championship. Sean finished fourth that year, and Giovinazzi finished second. There is Felix Serrales for Team Westec, still having a solid run here in 8th place. And there's Felix Rosenquist, who's in 9th position. Had that big moment running wide and almost into the barriers early on in the race, but he's come back well into the points in 9th place. He did say to me, you know, last year I had 11 race wins. This year I'm happy with a 4th place finish. That's how things have changed. But you see it in Formula 1 as well, don't you? Thinking of drivers like Jenson Button, who one year are winning everything, the next year, you know, the car just, and the driver and the combination, just for whatever reason, isn't quite working all the time. So it's not that Felix Rosenquist has become a bad driver overnight. It's not that Muka Motorsport have become a bad team overnight. They're both excellent, but it's just not quite hooked up for them this season. So there is Tom Blomqvist, number 31, leading the race. He's had race wins this season already. As I said, he won the very first race of the season, actually, at Silverstone. So he was the early championship leader. He got a win at Po. He got a win at the Hungaroring, and his 4th win of the season came a couple of rounds ago at Spielberg. He quipped on Twitter yesterday that, thanks Max for giving me pole position. Something similar happened the other way around earlier in the year, when Tom had got pole and then got an engine penalty, and Max inherited pole. So Tom said, thanks for returning the favour. And Max on Twitter said, no problem, I'd rather it was you than somebody else. Probably meaning Esteban Ocon, of course, who's really up against in the championship. But he's also up against Tom Blomqvist now for 2nd place in the championship, of course, only 5 points between them. So Max Verstappen hunting down Antonio Giovinazzi. The last couple of laps, he's got the gap down from 1 second to 0.4 of a second. It is not 1.4 of a second anymore, more like 0.2 of a second. So Verstappen, the quicker of the two drivers here. I'm not sure he's going to have time to catch the race leader, but if he can get up to 2nd place, what a result that would be from where he started the race. Max Verstappen marching on here. The Van Amersfoort team have run him so far this year to 8 race wins. Having a hugely successful combination. His first year of car racing. Multiple European and World Karting champion. There's Trevor Carlin, who runs Carlin Motorsport. Hugely successful team racing in GP2, GP3, Formula 3, British Formula 3. Here's Max having a feint around the outside. Not quite close enough this time, so Giovinazzi hangs on to it. We're on to the final lap of the race as well. Tom Blomqvist leads. He's going to win this one, surely, but who's going to finish in 2nd place here? Giovinazzi's got less than a lap to defend now, about a minute to hang on to 2nd place. Blomqvist continuing his march. He's barely been off the podium the last couple of rounds. He's going to get his first win for a little while, though, Tom Blomqvist. It's all about this battle for 2nd place. Max Verstappen, maybe the best opportunity of the lap has come and gone, the run into Tamburello. But you never know with Max. He tries some audacious moves around some unusual parts of the track at times. He's just dropped back a little bit, though. Podium finish would be terrific, though, wouldn't it, from 11th on the grid. And they better watch out when he starts from pole position later on today. So Blomqvist goes through, almost home and dry now. He really has come good, Tom Blomqvist, in the 2nd half of the season. And deserving to be in 2nd place in the championship. His teammate trying to make this a 1-2 here, but still not shaken off Max Verstappen. They come down to Rivazza for the final time. The checkered flag is being readied meanwhile for Tom Blomqvist. Max Verstappen closes right up under braking onto Giovinazzi, but Giovinazzi doesn't make any mistakes here. Rounds the corner. Verstappen still closing in, but it's going to be 2nd place for Giovinazzi by the looks of things. The flag is ready though, and Tom Blomqvist takes his 5th race win of the season. Max Verstappen's going to have a run over the start-finish line. It's going to be neck and neck as they cross the start-finish line here, and I reckon he did it. Now, on the timing screen, Verstappen, the Jagonia Iron with team, cannot believe it. Jagonia Iron with Carlin team, absolutely frustrated by that. They've won the race with one man. They thought they were going to get a 1-2. And Giovinazzi just seemed to be quite slow coming across the start-finish line. On the timing screen, it says there's 0.0 of a second between them, but it's given 2nd place, at least for now, to Max Verstappen. So he did it. They were to within 100th of a second of each other, but timing screen says Verstappen got his nose in front first and crossed the line first. And Giovinazzi drops to third right at the end of the race. So mixed emotions for Trevor Carlin and the team here. Delighted for Tom Blomqvist, I'm sure, but a bit frustrated for Antonio Giovinazzi. The team are race winners. They've won over 270 races across the various formula. But and that's going to be another one. I'm going to push up towards 300 race wins now. Tom Blomqvist, super drive that by Tom. A bit like Esteban Ocon yesterday, really. He didn't put a wheel wrong, converted his pole position into a race win, and he's on great form, as I said. He's well, the last 8 races now. He's only been off the podium once, and that was a 5th place finish. So there's the photo finish. It was almost like Giovinazzi backed off a bit early, wasn't it? It felt like that, but quite what went on, I don't know. And then there was more shenanigans with Roy Nassani. He's another entertaining driver. He had a go and failed to get through. Wasn't for a point anyway, so Roy Nassani having a moment on the last lap of the race. So Tom Blomqvist won. Max Verstappen from 11th on the grid to 2nd place. Antonio Giovinazzi robbed of 2nd on the line, drops to 3rd. Esteban Ocon, the championship leader, not yet the champion though, because Tom Blomqvist and Max Verstappen both outscored him. So the championship is going to carry on for at least another 1 race before we get the title decided. Tom and Max not giving up on this yet. Confirmation of the results and the more detailed timing screen then. It was 19 thousandths of a second that Max Verstappen took it by. It said 0.0 on the track timing screen, but on the more detailed timings, it was a whole 19 thousandths of a second that Max Verstappen took 2nd place by. Giovinazzi 3rd, Ocon in 4th place, but picking up some handy points once again. Felt like a bit of a drive to points, that, didn't it? Lucas Auer was 5th, Nicholas Latifi 6th, Jake Dennis was 7th, in 8th place was Felix Sorales, in 9th place was Felix Rosenquist, 10th place to Gustavo Menezes, 11th Van der Laar, 12th Castellano.